Whew. Okay, so I just want to make a quick review video for the new show, Man in the High Castle, that was just released on Amazon Prime Instant. So let's just get to it. This show is wow, like this is a very well done show, and it's okay. So gonna level with you guys, kind of a Philip K. Dick fanboy. I love all of the books that he's written, and all the freaking movies that have been adapted from his work. So obviously I'm gonna go in this with a little bit of bias, but just to put that out for a second, this TV show is based off a book. Now, one gripe I had with the show that thematically there is like one thing that doesn't make any sense. So I'll just go into the synopsis. So essentially, the book and the TV series are based in a world where the Nazis win World War II, and essentially America is split into two halves. The East Coast is now controlled by the Nazis, and the West Pacific Coast is controlled by the Japanese. So one of the main themes in the book that really, I mean, it was kind of there, but it wasn't really shown outright in the show, was the fact that just because the Nazis took over doesn't mean that much has changed in America. Like, it's trying to give you like a good like message or like a theme of saying that even if the Nazis had won, America would still be the same. Like, instead of persecuting the Jews, we persecuted the blacks for such a long time, and that was terrible. The original book, it surfaced more of like a critique like on our world, like like we were fighting the Nazis, but we weren't that much better. I mean, it's just a really good critique, and also showing that that's like evil's in everything, and just because we feel like we're above everyone, it's not really the same. Now, that theme is a big topic in the book. Like, it's a really big theme, and it's really very very apparent. But in the show, it's a little less so. But other than that, the plot is a little bit different. There's some big aspects that are changed, but the main characters are still there, like the names and everything, and their backstories are very similar, but again, some of them are changed. So this is not a direct word-for-word adaptation of the book, so if you were looking for that, sorry, that's not what you're gonna get. But in a sense, I kind of like this because we get a completely different idea. So since it's not a direct adaptation, we can, judge it for what it is and not trying to compare it too much to the source material. Now, having said that, it's still great. Just because some of the themes may have been lost in the translation, it's still an amazing show. It's well written, well acted. The settings are superb. Like, it's not that you're gonna in time capsule and you feel like no. What you're seeing on the set design and everything, what you see on screen, like you can believe what you're seeing. Like, if the Nazis had won and Japan had taken over the Pacific and all that stuff, like, you can imagine the world being like that. Japanese culture is pretty much taken over in the west side, and the east side it's very very German, like very Nazi like centric. Like, it keeps you uneasy, especially since if you hate that shit like I fucking do. But it's just like you're watching this world and you're like seeing like the horrible, like disgusting situations that people have to go through, and like also the horrifying situations. It's very very good tonally. It's amazing, and it makes you really really feel for like the characters' plights and like everything that happens to them. Like, you really want them to pull through. Also, I was mainly talking about the protagonist, now the antagonists. The thing I really liked about this was the antagonist. Now, usually in a show, an antagonist, like a badly written antagonist, is a person's like, okay, I just want to do evil, just evil. What about this? Don't care. Either he wants money and he just wants to destroy the world, he just wants to see the world burn. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad character. If they're utilized perfectly, they are great, and they're like great anarchist characters. But there's like a line where if it's just a character like who wants to be evil, there's no who cares about that. But the antagonists in the show are very honorable. They're human. They're not just monsters. They do monstrous things, but they're human. Like, you can, like, at one point, I was watching one of the antagonists, specifically a Nazi character, and I was like feeling like remorse for him. I was feeling bad for him. I fucking hate him because fuck that character, all the shit he's done. But there's situations where like I can see that it's not just like like hate in his eyes. Like, he really believes that this shit is right, and it's horrible. Again, it's a very fucked up show, but the fact that they actually try to put humanity in the antagonist really like makes you like you actually care about shit. And when like antagonists get their comeuppance, oh, you fucking care. Okay. Besides all that, I had one other gripe, but this resolved itself while I was watching the show. Like midway through the season, I felt like the show had like, you know, just stopped. Like it's just like the mood was like a big halt. Like it slowed down a lot, and I was like, oh, this is weird. But if you get that feeling, ignore it because it will. They're just building up. Now I will say this: the way the show ends, I have no idea if they're gonna have a season 2 or not. That's not really spoiling anything because I like the way they ended it. Because I don't know if it's gonna be just like a straight up mini series where like start to end and that's it, or they might have a season 2. If they have a season 2, I would like to see what they do. But it's again, I don't want to spoil anything. It's just really weird how they end it, and it's like it leaves you wanting more, but at the same time you feel satisfied. That is the most I will give you. Now, one of the more notable things I wanted to mention, just to throw it out there, one of my favorite characters is Frank Frink. Now, I don't want to mention too much, but his story arc is possibly my favorite. In a sea of great characters, he is the one that I really, really like the most. Another thing, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like a lot of you probably, I just got done playing Fallout 4, and tonally, they're very similar. I'm not saying that the show is like, you know, a nuclear fucking destroyed town. I'm just saying it's like the same kind of vibe, like, you know, 1950s, the world is destroyed, like desolate wasteland. It's like stuff like that. It makes you, it's really cool. So if you're a fan of Fallout, this is really weird. If you're a fan of Fallout 4, you will be a fan of this show because like thematically and like it just feels like it's like the two going hand in hand. But yeah, that's the whole review, and my final words of the actual review itself. This show is amazing, and it requires your full attention. There's a lot of details. Now the book itself was very, very detailed, and this is a very streamlined version of what happens, like in that sense. But nothing is lost in translation other than, of course, that theme. But the plot is still great. You should watch this, especially if you're a fan of like what if stories, like scenario stories, or like a really, really thrilling, tense, like adventure story. Now that's the video. And some people have been comparing this show to Jessica Jones. Only reason is because they're both shows that were released on November 20th, and they're both essentially, you know, on streaming services, so all the episodes are coming out. And people will be saying, oh, which one should you watch this weekend? If you have the time and the means, you should watch both. Don't choose between them. Now, I will say this. Personally, I preferred this show only because, and I have bias to this, because I love Philip K. Dick's like stories, like, you know, Blade Runner, Scanner Darkly. Like there's a bunch of books out there, and there's a bunch of movies that are based off those books. So I have bias towards it. Of course I'm going to prefer something, but they should not be compared at all. I love these shows separately, and they're both great. You should watch both. Don't try to limit yourself. Don't try hearing people, oh, this one's better, that one's better. No. Do not compare them. They're completely different. They can't even be compared. They're not even the same like genres at all. Just watch them and enjoy them. That is the most I can give you. And if you want to see my Jessica Jones review, click right here. But other than that, they're both great shows, and they both deserve your attention. Well, that is it. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys later.